Hey guys, Forex Class from BK Forex. Welcome to our Forex Daily Technicals for 7/2/13. Comm dollars basing. As always, trading foreign exchange on margin carries high risk and is suitable for all investors. I invite you to read the disclaimer very carefully. You should be aware of all associated with trading on margin and understand and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. Well, before we start with the Comm dollars, actually, I sort of want to take a look at the euro because the euro is also starting to base this 30,100 level, really holding steady and impressively steady here. As you can see, we've basically tested it 2 or 3 times, held relatively well. We're above 30.50 as we enter Asia right now. It'll be interesting to see if we can make that run. Now, Friday's very, very ugly turn from 3100 was very, very bearish, but today's similar hold at above 30 may be able to reverse a lot of that bearish sentiment. If we can take out the 3100s, it really opens up a run all the way up to 30.50, and then a much broader, sort of a wider bottoming out process for the euro dollar, which kind of hints at the same kind of a story for the high betas in general. Similar, less bullish, but similar type of a price action in the pound, as 52.50 could not really hold, but we're still managing to hold around the 5200s for the time being. And this 51.50, 5200 has been a corridor that has held for the last several days. Taking out 52.50 would be very bullish. It would take us really right through and allow us the opportunity to basically run all the way through the 54s, 53s, 54s to the upside and form yet another wide bottom here in the pound. If we break, though, below the 51.50, then that is very ugly because that really opens up a run towards the 1500 in cable. Cable, as I noted, has had relative weakness, and it's actually disturbing to have had this weakness against what many would consider to be relatively bullish fundamental data. So when you have discrepancy between price and data, you have to pay a lot of attention to the price, and perhaps it's signaling more weakness in cable to come than we like to believe. Next, though, is of course the Comm dollars, and here you have some potential for bottoming out here. We have the Kiwi, which I think is the strongest bottoming out candidate because it's really holding well around the 77s. Made a nice big turn here. Looks relatively strong to the upside. Now just basically holding the 78.50 level, against which if it breaks, it pretty much can come back and try to retake all the way out to the 80s, which is where it collapsed just last week in the major onslaught of the Comm dollar destruction. But also, Aussie continues to hold, not as conclusively, but still continues to hold this 91 level relatively well. We tested it early in Asia yesterday and came back up off of it. Of course, we've got the RBA tonight. That could be a very interesting event risk because if the RBA remains bearish, remains dovish, could push us back to a possible retest of the 9100s. But unless we have an uber bearish commentary, I doubt we're going to be able to break 9100s to the downside. Conversely, we are operating against this high, which is a critical high here, this 93.50 high, that needs to be taken out if you want to have a much more bullish and more constructive move to the upside. For now, it's operating as a swing high and is pressing down on the Aussie. The Aussie kind of needs to at least meet a clear this thing in order to create some sort of positive sentiment in the trade. And dollar CAD definitely stalling at this 105 level, and that's kind of an interesting, I think, top line for dollar CAD because it's already been 1, 2, 3, 4 tests of the 105.50s. If we start turning down here, this break at a 104.00s could be more significant. It would be a double top here. It could take us right back down towards the 103s, 102s on a retest. This run that we had, really like a massive run in dollar CAD over the last week and a half, looks like it's kind of run out of gas at this point. And the fact that we're kind of stalling the 105.50s definitely suggests we might be able to turn to the downside. There's probably two ways to trade this if you want to trade the breakdown, breakout. Obviously, the breakout here is 105.50 to the upside, or let's say 105.70 would take us to a fresh highs and probably push us through 106, maybe even 107. On the other hand, I wouldn't want to short this thing until I actually broke the 104s, until you pretty much conclusively created a double top here and created some momentum to the downside, because it could just be a stall and a fake out back to the upside. And last but not least, dollar yen holding relatively well here. We're holding above the 99.50, and we've held, obviously, we've recaptured 98s, recaptured 99s, now holding above 99.50, and of course 100 is the big trade in the way. That's going to be a very interesting look as we go forward because there was a tremendous amount of overhead in the 100 area, and for it to barrel on through this would really require some pretty serious momentum, or to put another way, probably some very positive data out of the U.S. that would stimulate the bulls to really want to buy up dollar yen around these levels. So that's kind of how the night is shaping up. Some interesting trades here, especially in the Aussie off the RBAs. Watching the Comm dollars continue its recovery, and of course yen hovering just below the 100 as we go forward. Last but not least, of course, is the fact that the euros held the 30s, and now 3100 becomes the next clear level for it to take out if we're going to go to the upside. Wishing you guys the best of luck and the best of trading. This is Boris Schlossberg from BK Forex over and out.